But yeah, I do like a little like starting screen, and then I just kick it off and I give you your introductions, and it's just shooting the breeze.
Okay, let's do it.
It's easy. But yeah, Corn Ferry starting up. And then by the time you're seeing this, the Corn Ferry's already concluded.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big event for Amarillo. That's huge.
I agree.
That's huge, yeah. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that, like, Amarillo is like a golfing community. Like, there's like a major tour that happens like in the summer. It's crazy.
No, I'm with you. People, it's underrated, yeah.
So underrated. Yeah. Like, it's to the point where, like, does Amarillo know what it is, like, as far as a sports town? Like, is it a football town? Is it a basketball town? Is it...
No, does not know.
It just loves all sports, and that's the right kind of sports town. Because when I worked in Dumas, like, in the wintertime, that was not a basketball town. That was a wrestling town.
Yep. Yeah. And rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. Yeah, I was there during the peak years where they went back to back, and they had a individual champion. They had a few more finalists, but yeah, it was good. And then the assistant coach who was with them, he's still there. Chris Holsworth, good old Holsey.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I saw him at the softball game, the state semifinal game.
Very cool. Yeah.
Basically about everybody and their brother was there.
Is that right?
Yeah, everybody and their brother was there. Oh yeah.
Dumas is proud of that when they
Dumas is very proud of their demons and demonettes. Like, if they do well, man, the town is all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the lo-fi playing in the background, and it's chill. I try to keep it as chill as I can.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready to. All right. There's Lance. It takes a second for me to hop on. There I am. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast, Season 2, Episode 11. Wow, I can't believe I can't believe I get that far sometimes. I keep counting the numbers up, and then I don't realize, like, it's like, wow, I've had, like, so many episodes right now, and we are not losing steam. With me today is another man, the myth, the legend, alongside like Lee Baker, who I had just a few episodes ago. Lance Lahnert, he needs no introduction. Along with being a longtime sports editor for the Amarillo Globe-News, one of my mentors when I was a young pup. Am I still a young pup? I don't know.
No, yeah, you're a young pup.
And but after that, like, Lance decided to extend the brand to the Sports Drive. That's so catchy. And then Lance has been an MC at so many events. Lance is on KFDA NewsChannel 10, often interviewing coaches after games. And is there anything else crazy that I'm missing, Lance?
No, I mean, you nailed it. You know, I mean, at one time, Tyler, it was all newspaper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was 38 years. It was, you know, I was definitely a sports writer. You know what I mean? And at that time, as you well know, anybody knows the history of journalism, that was more than enough. You know what I mean?
It was.
You had 7 photographers on staff, like 12 sports writers at the Globe-News at one time. So you were really in one lane. Mm-hmm. And now it's just changed, which for the better and for the worse, by the way. You know what I mean? To be overworked is no fun. To have so many irons in the fire, it does make you versatile and all that. There's positive and negatives on both. But yeah, at one time it was just all newspaper. And then it happens, you know, if you want to just go away and fade away, all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you agree? But I decided not to. And through my, got some helped with television at Channel 10. Thankful for that. And then did that radio show for like 5 years. And then I do some MCing here and there now. And then a bucket list, as this is going to air, I've never been a starter at a golf event, like I've always wanted to be. I don't know why. And so that took place at the Corn Ferry this past week. So
that's
pretty
awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you go to the Masters like almost every year. Like,
well, I went 11. Yeah, that's one thing I was going to say. That so blessed, as you know, when you're in it. You and I are hardcore. Like what we thrive on in the 806 in the Panhandle. Let's face it, our high school sports. You know what I mean? And West Texas A&M. We get down to Lubbock somewhat, but the meat of our whole coverage was definitely high school sports, along with WT. But that doesn't happen in a lot of areas, So to get a chance to kind of stretch out on a national scene it's just a blessing. That's all you can say. But I did it 11 years. That has dried up as well because of Gannett, owns all the papers in USA Today.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The Masters was I fell in love with that place, Tyler. I usually don't fall in love with like experiences like that, but I'm going to tell you that's a happy place.
Mm-hmm.
What I experienced there, those 11 years, and so I was on the course like 11 weeks, believe it or not, and got to play the course a couple times. They have a lottery drawing, but just seeing the national media appear at an event, Tyler, and how they cover it, really, really was a lesson for me as well.
Okay.
And you know how it is, Tyler. Sometimes you see these great writers and all that. You know what? They ask the same questions you do.
Yeah.
You learn that quickly.
Yeah.
You just need to go back and learn to write like they can sometimes. But
yeah.
No, they're just as intimidated by Tiger Woods as anybody. I thought, these guys, they know. No, they were all scared to ask him a question when he was mad, just like I would have been. So, but it was a great experience. I mean, yeah. And then I have a couple of photo bombs. I got to give it a shout out. When Tiger Woods won the 2019 Masters, I was like 8 feet from the green, sitting in a chair there in the media chairs that not a lot of media actually knew these chairs existed. You're allowed to sit in. And then I had to do a story for Augusta, like a reaction story. So when he was walking by, I kind of went out the back door of it, like underneath where Jim Nance and those guys were in the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, if you see me, I'm like a goofy dude just looking my head around the corner. And he's hugging his son, and there I am. There I am, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
It's pretty cool. So those little things make it special, as you well know. But it's not the bane of my existence. The bane of my existence was, putting my heart and soul into covering the athletes and coaches of this area.
Yeah, and I think that's still the heart of it. It just has to evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
And I forgot a little bit of a nuance is that along with helping out with the Sports Drive and News Channel 10, Lance also writes for Press Pass Sports, which I'm a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like bringing the old band back together for Press Pass Sports. And then also I think there's a few other things that you're a part of as well, where you get to like kind of, I think, bring back that kind of that mojo as far as that writing, because after so long, and if you don't take the vacations, and that's why I'm always so crazy about my mentals, like, so I don't get burnt out, because I've been there. Like I used to kid people. I'm like, I think the edges of my fingers are getting a little crispy. That's how burnt out I am. Like,
I like that.
Yeah. But but I think that's still like a way for you to connect with like student athletes and just athletes in general, because you and I both know this. We've covered both high school and small colleges. I had the privilege of not only covering WT, I had South Dakota Mines, I had Black Hills State, to a lesser extent, Iowa State, Northern Iowa. But you find out about these athletes really quick, and you find out that, hey, they put their pants on the same way we do every morning.
Yeah. The fun thing that I have learned through the years, Tyler, I'm glad you brought that up, because everybody has a story, okay? And some people burst through the door and tell their story in 5 minutes, and it's awesome, okay?
We love it.
They're outgoing as all get it, and some people sneak in that door like, you're not going to get anything out of me. But that story may be as good as you've ever heard. Mm-hmm. So it's not a trick, I wouldn't want to call it, but the really, really what you learn, and you've got that knack as well, is to let them tell their story. However way they tell it, Tyler, that's what I've learned most, is let them tell their story. Mm-hmm. And like I said, sometimes they're going to burst through the door and tell it themselves. Sometimes you got to ask their best friend, ask their mom or dad, ask their coaches, ask their teammates. Let them talk about that person. And so there's more than one way to write those stories. But I've learned as I get older, I really like deep dives. And maybe I'm a little wordy as I am a little talkative today, but I will say this. I love the deep dives. And here's my philosophy. And maybe it's messed up, but Tyler, I've read some outlandishly boring 5 to 8 inch stories, mm-hmm. and some thrilling 5 to 8 inch stories. And I'll take that to 50-inch stories. I've read some real snoozers, but I've read some that you're like, okay, I need more of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I've kind of learned. If I'm bored reading it, then my reader's bored reading it as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I've never been intimidated by a length. And sometimes that's maybe a downfall of mine, but because I really believe that. I think you can write, if it's 30 inches, go for it. Yeah. If it's 3 inches, go for it. As long as you're telling this story. And I miss that part of the day-to-day of the newspaper. I thought I was done. I was like you nailed it. I think I was burnt to the crisp on my fingers, especially when it went to Cale Steed, myself, and Lee Passmore, and you were helping us out too.
I was the proverbial fourth man.
Yeah, exactly. We needed a big time. But when you're used to maybe the production or the we were still putting out quality. We were just not as comprehensive as I had been with forever.
Right.
We were the go-to. We had 12 writers there. We had, for a long time. And so I did that for a year, but that was a very long year. And when I'll tell this story, when Gannett or whoever owned us at that time, mm-hmm. put out like a little like, hey, we're offering buyouts. Well, I happened to be sitting at my computer, okay, Tyler, and I love being a newspaper guy. I really loved it.
Me too.
But at that time we were doing we had to sit in front of a computer. The paper was being designed in Austin, where we could have put the Amarillo High Rebels dump the Tascosa Sandies in a headline, and it would not have been corrected.
No.
Okay. No. So anyway, that's where I was at that time. But anyway, when they put out the memo, well, I was happening to be sitting at my computer and said, you know what? This is your time, Lance. So I sent him, yeah, I'm interested. But I learned it was like 37 seconds after, Tyler.
Oh.
So it's one of the fastest in the history of Gannett. Putting in, wanting to they offered a buyout, and I applied for it.
Okay.
And that was it. So, yeah.
And I remember they were still trying to fill that void. And I'll get to how I met Lance like here shortly for those checking out the show. But I remember, it's like Lance took the buyout. And I was happy for you. I was like, hey, like, I was kind of bummed because I was like, I don't get to work with like somebody that is like mentored me. I would say like I have 3 big pillars now. as far as like writing and leadership and everything. First one is Kale.
Yeah.
He's my 1A, and then I've like, it's not like a 1, 2, 3. It's like a 1A, 1B, 1C, and you can interchange them. Like, that's what's nice.
Yeah, for different
1A,
things. Yeah,
for different reasons. 1A is Kale Steed for sure, and then 1B is Tony Ventiker, who was my publisher, advertising manager, and my boss for the Graphic Advocate in Lake City. Holy buckets, yeah. She was like the president of a corporation at one point. Like, that's nuts to think about.
That's big time.
And then there's you. Like like you taught me like
cool.
how to do some nuances, and sometimes you can just jump right into a story versus like taking your sweet time and building the scene. Like, there's a time and place for everything. Like, there's context. But yeah, like I remember, like I was happy, but I was also bummed. And then I was like, okay, all right, they're probably going to reach out to somebody. And I was like, okay, that's why I left like the Moore County News Press, among other things, just being in Amarillo. And I made some bank during that time freelancing too. Like, bank. Like, I was like, every other week I was like looking at like $1,000 paycheck, and I was like, whoa, like they were hurting. But the nice thing was, well, maybe it was like something silver lining, because I remember like, waiting for Gatehouse, who owned the Globe News at the time. Now, the general manager there, she was fantastic. She was an incredibly nice lady. There were things beyond her control. And I don't blame her one bit. Super duper nice lady. And I was going to come in, and I was going to be like, okay, let me be here with like, Kale and Lee. I know the landscape. I know enough about these kids. I'll fit in just like a glove. And then what happened was they moved way too slow. They had to go through Lubbock, and then they had to go through Austin, and I ran into that at one other time. So hang with me, Lance. And I'll make a joke out of it here in a second. But yeah, like when at the time Mid-America Publishing was like hiring for somebody like close to my hometown in Iowa. Like, I was just like, I threw my name in the hat, and they called, and they offered me a pretty decent deal at the time. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll go back and be closer to family. And I was initially going to go to one town, and then I ended up getting swiped up by the aforementioned Tony Ventiker, and I ended up in Lake City. And I was there for 4 years, like 3 with Mid-America Publishing, a little more than 3, and then I was there for like another half year with Nelson Media. But yeah, like it was just crazy, like how much bureaucracy there is once you get to be bigger papers and you have to go up the ladder. And I encountered that one more time. Like, I was at the time I was looking at, I was brought into the Daily Freeman Journal, and I was like, okay, all right, I can handle a weekly. Small daily, that's a little tough. Yeah. And I was doing news, I was doing sports, I was doing pagination. Like, I was doing the work of like 3 or 4 people. Like, it was incredible. Yeah. Like, I don't know how I did it sometimes. I guess I got through it by surviving. But I remember they were trying to make the Daily Freeman Journal into a weekly, and then they started moving goalposts. They were like, okay, all right, well, we can't be a weekly, maybe we can be a bi-weekly. And I was like, okay, all right. That's fine. And then they were like, okay, we got to go up to, it was cool with the publisher. That's why the publisher brought me in. And then they were like, okay, we got to talk to the regional manager. And then now we got to talk to the national guy. And then it had to go all the way up to Bob Nutting, who owns Ogden Newspapers. And just a little joke between all of us here on the Unfiltered podcast, Lance, you're included in this. If you see how Bob Nutting runs the Pittsburgh Pirates, you can actually see how he runs Ogden Newspapers. And I still make that joke, and I can get away with it because I serve no master right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, like, I was just like, okay, all right. When I saw the writing on the wall that they were they were doing all that, I was like, okay, back to sports I go. Like, cause that's where the passion was at.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. Yeah, that's so true. I do want to say, leaving that way was not ideal for me. I really did love newspapers, but and then this is no disrespect to anybody in it right now, but what we have lost, like in Amarillo, for instance, we no longer have. I mean, the sports editor lives in Lubbock. It's published when it is published. It's published in Lubbock, but what we've lost, Tyler, is the watchdog of our community with our newspapers. Okay, now, and I mean by that, we were far from perfect, and I was far from perfect. Okay?
Oh yeah, all of us were far from perfect.
People, I cringe when I read back a story where I misspelled somebody's name or had a fact wrong or something. I really did. It really bugged me. A lot of sleepless nights over that stuff. Always trying to be fair, but long story short, what we've lost. We would be at the school board meetings. We would be at the Cap Rock, Tascosa 5-5 versus 5-5 baseball game. You know what I mean? We were there at all those. So we were the watchdogs of the community. And by that I mean we'd be at school board meetings, city meetings, at least asking, hey, what went down in this shooting, or where did this extra money go that was spent? Like I said, and we have lost that completely. That hurts me as much as anything with newspapers the size of Amarillo, but it is what it is. I admire anybody that gets in there and fights the good fight. But when you don't have a sports writer living in Amarillo, I mean, right now it's just sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough spot. Like it was a tough spot for Randall Sweet when he was there. It was a tough spot for Hart when he was there.
Yes, and they did a great job. Actually,
fantastic job.
But 12 verse 1, they thought they were doing a great job, and they weren't covering anything close to what we did. No. And I mean, like standings and middle school scores were in the paper and everything. You know what I mean? So that's where my heart hurts the most. Is that, and there's other avenues now, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, but that we have lost the watchdog. Somebody who's going to ask you, okay, you guys just spent $20,000 on a new tractor. Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A new mower. Just why? The question why is no longer asked to our city or and TVs do the best they can, but let's get real. You know what I mean? They're looking for a 2-minute piece, 8-second soundbite. They can't invest, and they're busy like all of us. They can't invest like you want to. But that's where my heart hurts the most. And it's just not Amarillo. It's across America where we've lost. And I don't want to be the old man on the lawn screaming, but I am the old man on the lawn screaming.
You've earned the right.
It wasn't. What we were doing was actually pretty good. You know what I mean? It fits in this society today that we don't get done.
It does.
And I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah. And I agree. Like even when we were at 4 people, like I felt like we covered a lot. We did. And we always found like some really cool stories out there. And Kale always seemed to have everybody's phone number.
He still does.
It was such a fun dynamic. But
no, you're right on that. Real quick, Tyler, that we fought the good fight, but it also, like you said, look at how many stories you had to write. Look what they had to pay. Look at how many hours, and when you're salaried to put out a quality production, we were all working immense amount of hours. Where, hey, I can do that for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, okay?
Yeah.
But give me a week off to kind of refresh the battery, and then I'll go right back at it. But, when it's 30, 40 weeks in a row, you're just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy. You see mistakes you might make that you would never make before or would catch a lot easier, things like that. So,
right.
And I'm a joy person, If you lose your joy, I don't care if you're just walking down the street. You can tell who has joy on their face and joy in their heart and who doesn't sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we all go through a lot. But when you lose your joy for the passion of writing, then it's time to go. You know what I mean? It's to be fair to everybody else, not just being selfish to yourself. But don't you agree on that?
I completely agree. I mean, I went too long without my only breaks were in between jobs. Like that's how bad it got at one point.
Yeah.
But I did find a lot of joy in covering athletes and a lot of joy in connecting with schools and mattering in the community. And and this brings up a really good point is of how much everything has been lost is Amarillo went from 12 riders down to, when I was there, 4. 4, maybe you bring in a few stringers on football Friday nights, which was fun because it was always there was pizza involved and taking phone calls from coaches and then and typing in the box scores, which was always really fun. Those were great. Those were great Fridays, and I would always be the last one out the door. I'd be walking out with you guys when that would happen.
Sure.
And
Friday nights in the fall, legendary. And I got to cover so many. I didn't have to stay in the office a lot when I was writing there, but that office, the calls. I got to tell you. So the first time, Tyler, you'll love this because you did it. We would try to get every game. You know what I mean? So there were 7 or 8 of us taking calls at that time, and 4 or 5 writers out covering. And I was nervous as all heck. It was the first Friday night, and my roommate at the time was a great dude, a great guy, but he was a character. Okay, if you weren't ready, he was going to tweak your world. You know what I mean?
Wow.
he loved a good joke, though. Okay, he loved a good joke. Let's just put it like that. It was cool. So this guy, I'm new to Amarillo. Guy calls up. We had a sheet which had everything you had to write out. Cite a game, correspondent calling in, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? So, cite a game, Earth, Texas, and I'm like, oh my God, Mark. Look, I'm nervous enough as it is. You can't be calling me this late. You know what I mean? And the coach had lost. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They had lost the game, and he was actually calling in from Earth. You know what I mean? So I felt terrible on that, but you look back, it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? So yeah. And back then I'm so old. We did not have laptops at that time. You got on a payphone and you just dictated it in.
Yeah.
And then you looked at the paper and just hoped it sounded okay. You know what I mean? That's what we did. It was fun though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great throwback on Friday Night Football. I could go on forever on that. All the great stuff I've seen, what's happened, get locked in a couple of press boxes or, hey, let me just write for 30 more minutes and I'll turn off the lights.
Yep.
As you're packing up, you go, did I get that right? Did I have the right touchdown? Your mind's all moving. Mm-hmm. And then you shut the door and oh my gosh, I just left the light on in Plainview, Texas, which I promised, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, it reminds me of the story where this was when I was an even younger pup, and I was with Kale down at Blackwater Draw, which is a fantastic stadium. I wish they could still use it every now and then.
Eastern New Mexico, yes.
Yes, old Eastern New Mexico. And we were covering, I think, Eastern and WT. They were doing a playoff game during the afternoon. One of that weird LSC, that Lone Star Conference, playoff system that they were doing.
Yeah.
So weird. So WT and Eastern played each other twice that year. And WT lost, but no, Kale was trying to pound it out. I sent over a few photos. My photos weren't great at the time, but they sufficed. And I got everything of mine sent off. It was just Kale was trying to knock out the story while he still had access to the press box and the Wi-Fi and everything. Well, the Blackwater Draw staff were trying to push Kale out the door. They were I think it was during a game where the Cowboys were playing or something. And they were yeah, you need to go home. We need to go home, watch the Cowboys and drink beer. And Kale had to go all the way, and we had that hotspot with us. We had a hotspot. And the hotspot didn't work well at Blackwater Draw because Blackwater Draw is like 2 miles outside of town. Like, it's not like the new stadium where the new stadium's like smack dab in the middle of town. And those who know. Probably not Art Briles, but that's a little Art Briles joke. But yeah, I remember we had to go drive to the McDonald's parking lot so Kale could send the story.
Yeah, I love it.
You know, that was such an adventure. But like.
So Tyler, real quick, you know, back in the day, then when we got Radio Shacks, you had couplers to send from, things like that. But you're right, it was heavenly. If you were in a press box, whether you're in Panhandle, Odessa, Permian was the worst. They booted you out of there really quick.
Oh man!
So I had a stripes. I had a stripes that I know I could go right to. I learned the hard way, but people who let us right in those press boxes, we just loved you guys.
We loved them.
Hereford's one of the best always. What they do at Dick Bivens Stadium, but then that's a selfish sports writer thing, but because nobody else can relate to that. But when you had that extra hour where somebody's not standing over you, like, I want to get home.
Yeah.
But hey, take your time, just get it done. But I have sent from the Kentucky Fried Chicken office. Okay, like I needed a phone.
Yeah.
And she said, "Come on back and use my phone." You know, the couplers. You would put the couplers on top. They were into your laptop, and they would send it like one line at a time.
Oh.
Yeah, it wouldn't just send all the way.
Right.
So you're standing there, and it was a loud beep, you know, but yeah, sending stories from press boxes was once your story is in, you're like, oh
yeah, it felt so good, and then like you can like pack up, and then you can go.
Yeah.
And then you can swindle a deal. Like I always remember like this was the early days of Twitter/X where like Lance and eventually me, we would post up pictures of us leaving.
Yes.
And that was at the end of the day. That was like when we were done. It was when everybody else was gone.
Yes.
Like we would be like, all right, see you later, Fair Park Stadium. We'll see you again next time, you know.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
I love those though. Looking back, I love that because here's one thing, and not to get like heavy duty, but it was literally a religious experience. Especially when you just saw an intense high school football game, people going crazy, cheerleaders, the band, the crowd, the noise, some big hits. And then you look up and you've been writing for about 50 minutes and it's empty. It's silent.
Oh, everybody's gone within like a half hour of the game ending.
Yeah. And so you finish your story and you're walking down those steps, you know, and it's just you and that stadium. And I really came to love that feeling. That was one of my best. That was just really, really cool. If you didn't get locked in. You know,
right. If you didn't get locked in. No, that happened to me when I
I'm
was.
With you. And I started doing that, like my seat for the day, stuff like that. But that was fun, you know, to just say, hey, I was here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then it became even better when people sent in, here's my seat of the day.
Yeah.
Here's my seat of the game. And then they would tag you. And it was like, there were some cool places like these, these coaches
I still get it on
and
occasion.
a lot of
I
friends
love
would do it. Yeah. Like it gets,
I'm like, I wish I was there.
Yeah. Cause I remember, I was in Rapid and I sent you a picture of Fitzgerald Stadium. And this is not like a high school or a college baseball stadium. This is built for Allegiant baseball. Yeah. And I had the pleasure of covering the Post 22 hard hats and also the Expos as well when the Expos were doing really well. That was kind of like their JV team. But they were immensely talented. And I had the luxury of knowing Wayne Sullivan, who was a longtime football coach, but he ended up getting in baseball. He ended up getting kicked upstairs and being a general manager for Post 22. And shout out Wayne Sullivan if you're watching. He's awesome. He was one of the most awesome people like in Rapid. And then Kelvin Torvey, former Major League Baseball player. He was the head coach. So nice, so warm. Always welcomed you, but he also wanted his space too. He was like, hey, Tyler, hey, next time don't hover so close to the dugout when I'm chewing out the kids. And I was like, okay, no problem, Coach Torvey. It's all good.
Problem, Coach. Yeah.
And then what was crazy is there was a baseball field right next door called Pete Leon Memorial Field. And that's where the rival American Legion Post team played, the Stars. And they had a video board while like Post 22 didn't. And so they always hung that over. It was the parking lot rivalry, which was great. But got to know that head coach, Mike Jansen, and he's a fantastic person as well. But really weird stadium quirks.
Yeah, no, and I will say this, Tyler, like you mentioned, it really hits home with me is the special bond you have with some coaches. It's like nothing else. It's so many friends of mine are coaches, and they know we're trying to do a lot of them know we're trying to do our best. But once they do like Sullivan did to you, like, hey, Tyler, we love you here, but just back it up a little. They trust you.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't say that to somebody they didn't trust because they're gonna write something bad about me in the newspaper. But
no,
I really, really cherish all the coaches and a lot of players now who you in your little world, we did impact some people. Like I played in a golf tournament, a wonderful scramble a couple of days ago. The Ronald McDonald House does an amazing job here in Amarillo, but they put on maybe the best scramble too. But anyway,
okay, cool.
And I got the chance to play with some guys that I didn't know. They let me kind of be a comp. And one of the men I played with, first thing he says to me, when I was 16, you called me on the phone. I'd just gotten all district at Caprock High School. And he remembered that. You know what I mean? That's still a moment in his son, in his life, where his name's in the paper. And I had to, and I tried to talk to most of the people at that time who were all district and get a comment from him. So, but for him to remember that, still have the clipping, stuff like that. I love those stories. You know what I mean?
Me too.
His name was Braz. I actually remember a BR. You know how it rolls. Unique names you remember. Those experiences, let's be real. I mean, that was a long time ago. So I actually don't remember calling him up, but to have that memory, you know what I mean? Like, so you're in a few scrapbooks back in the day, and nobody's going to have those anymore. But real quick, the Dilla Villa is kind of like you're sitting there on top of a roof watching a baseball game with a spiral staircase to get to it.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, the seat to get there was crazy. Okay. You're walking across a roof with no railing. You know what I mean? But to sit in there and the view unmatched of any view I've almost had of a baseball game.
Yeah.
One of those. And at one time they had the Texans here, a collegiate wooden baseball league, in the Jayhawk League, and they hosted a lot of home games because they drew good crowds. So I spent many a night on top of that roof, and now it's gone.
Yeah, it's crazy that the Dilla Villa is gone, and I mean, Potter County Memorial Stadium. I think that's what it was called. The official name, but no. What I remember is not going all the way up to the top and walking the roof, like with the fear of like falling at falling off the roof. I remember like going up, and it was like they tried to convert some boxes into suites or whatever. It was towards the tail end of the Dilla Villa's life. And I remember like it was like for a local like collegiate wooden bat league, and Lee was sitting in there. He was covering a game, and he had to look through chicken wire to watch a game. And I was like, okay, all right, well, this is definitely a thing.
They became the chicken wire when they put the press box baby underneath. You know what I mean? They built like a little press box there. So the view wasn't as good, and it was chicken wire. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
I was like, is this really chicken wire? Like I had to like go and touch it and everything. And Lee was just
Great
nonchalant
memories
about it. I mean, shout out Lee Passmore.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, you got to be. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So here's the origin story on how I met Lance. When I was in college, I we'd be two ships passing in the night. Every now and then, I'd tweet at you. I'd be like, oh hey, like, hey, what do you think of this? And you give me your sincere thoughts, and I was like, oh, thank you. And then it came through Kale because Kale was covering the Amarillo Venom, and I was interning with the Venom at the time. And then when I was at a WT football game, Kale kind of recognized me. He was like, "Hey, weren't you with the Venom at one point?" And I was like, "Yeah, I interned with them." And then we hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. And then that kind of led me. He was like, "Dude, do you want to like help? Like, I know you're wanting to get in sports media. Do you want to like help us out on Friday nights? Like, we have free pizza." And I was like, "Yeah." Like, and I was like, "Dude, that's how you cut your teeth. That's how you." It's like, sweet. Like, I can get my foot in the door. I can get free supper, and I can take phone calls from coaches and do easy work. Like, and it was easy work. Like, you guys made it real easy because it was down to a system, and I still remember Coach Woods calling from Follett. It was either Follett. No, it was Booker. It was Booker. He would call in from Booker. It was either Booker. It was either Booker or Follett. Yeah, I think it was Follett. Yes. Yeah. It was Brad Woods, if I remember correctly. And he'd call in. He'd always be one of the first calls. And I'd always be like, all right, hey, Coach Woods, how's it going? Like, hey, I got a score for you. I was like, okay, cool. And then we go through the whole shtick. And I still remember Coach Woods all the way to this day when
that's cool. Shane Woods.
Shane Woods. I thought it was like a Brad, but that's okay. Shane Woods, yes. That guy was a legend.
Yep.
Yeah, he was great.
And people don't realize, so we get calls, volleyball calls, things like that, as Tyler well knows. And the coaches we respected the most, it's not easy when you lose to call in.
Yeah, we respected the heck out of those coaches.
And they would call in on time, religiously. It was really, it's hard to tell them, hey, thanks, coach, but you really did say, hey, thanks, coach. You know what I mean? It's been it's been a tough season, but you're still calling in, and we really respect that. You know what I mean? So,
and Canadian would always do a great job calling in too. We loved Canadian. Like it was not because Canadian won all the time. It was because Canadian would call in, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, and it was always like Canadian like stomping a mud hole into somebody, and I felt bad for the other guys, but. Yeah, that was. Yeah,
some are more organized than others, and you appreciate the organization of those. Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of good fun. Yeah, nothing quite like those days.
No, not even 10 or 15 years ago. I would say probably more like, about 15 years ago.
Yes, it's now.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that.
But, and at one time the Globe-News covered Oklahoma, Eastern New Mexico. We even, the panhandle of Oklahoma. And as far down as Hale Center, you know what I mean? So we had massive amount of call-ins, and we tried to get as many as we could. And because a lot of people remember opening up that Saturday morning paper and, just all those games. All
those scores and all those.
Review what was in there, you know what I mean? So, pretty cool.
It was cool. Like nowadays, like it's so easy to find what's going on through social media.
Yes.
There's always booster clubs that have pages. When I was with, and then nowadays it's all live streaming. Like they figured out live streaming, and that's what I really liked about Carol when I couldn't make it to a game, like if I was out covering one of the area games, like I can find the stream with Carroll High versus Bishop Heelan, or Carroll Kemper or Kemper Catholic. The really cool parochial school is what I used to call them, because if I mention Kemper, like Facebook would get mad at me and take down the post. and that would get everybody mad. And so I was like, I had the really cool code name of the really cool parochial school, and the people at Kemper loved it, and they had great. I mean, like there were some amazing athletes in that part of Iowa as well, and I got to be a part of like a few of those teams that, like, during the COVID year, like the football team I covered, South Central Calhoun. Basically, everybody went to the playoffs that year because of COVID. They went all the way to the Dome. And, of course, they got beat out by Van Meter, and Van Meter's like this powerhouse that's basically in championship games every other year. But to see those kids, like, and they had some adversity. Like, they dealt with, like, racism allegations, like, following a homecoming game. So they didn't play a game afterwards because one of the opponents they played, they had COVID and they had to cancel. They used that time wisely, and they had to do like diversity classes. And then I tried to be like, okay, all right. So and this was one of the moments where I felt like I shined. Was I reached out and I was like, okay, what the heck is going on? I reached out, like, and these are delicate subjects. So I ended up reaching out to like the football coach, and he was like, hey, like, we're looking into this. The superintendent, hey, we're looking into this. I started reaching out to players. I was like, hey, did anything like this happen? Because I'm seeing smoke, but I'm trying to figure out where the fire's coming from.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, this is one of the times where I stood up for the athletes, and I was like, okay, I don't think there's anything here. They were like, we didn't do anything, like. But nobody's going to listen. None of the adults are going to listen to us. And I was like, hey, I'll take your word. I know who your folks are. I know where you come from. And they were all amazing kids. And some of the kids, the team captains, reached out to the team captains of the other team that they were playing, where all this, scuttlebutt was coming from. And they were like, hey, if something like this happened, let us know. We'll take care of it. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. That proves it. That, there was nothing. It was just a parent that decided to fan the flame, decided to set a match and light a fire. And we learned that the lady was a little bit of a drama queen. I won't name names, but yeah, like she started some controversy, and it was bad. And but the athletes knew that, like, hey, like, if there's nothing there, I'll stand up for you. I got you. Like, yeah. And that's kind of the cool thing with sports, is it can reach out. It can be a source of reconciliation. It can be a source of healing. We saw that, like, everybody saw that with, like, the 2007 New Orleans Saints when they got, like, when they were really good, when they were recovering from Katrina. That's the one that really stuck out to me. But sports is kind of a healing thing. Like, when I was, like, in high school, one of the high school journalism teacher was like, hey, sometimes sports, it's like you're unwrapping a Christmas present. You're getting through all the news, and then it's like Christmas every single time. So I went in with that mentality that, hey, treat it like it's Christmas Day for somebody reading it for the first time.
I love that. Yeah. So true. So true. I can't tell you how many people said, when that Sunday paper came, I pulled the sports out and gave the rest to everybody else to read. You're not alone. You're not alone. Yeah. No, you're right. That's well said. Well said.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think the other thing I wanted to bring up is maybe some of your favorite moments. I know you got a lot. We would be here all day about favorite moments, but
yeah, and sometimes, as you well know, Tyler, it's personal. You know what I mean? It might not be like the state championship moment, and sometimes it is that.
Yeah.
As well, because the commitment that a coaching staff and athletes and a town, it's a combination sometimes to win a state championship. But I mean, there's so many favorite memories. Let me tell you one of my. It has nothing to. Well, I will say this. You know what I mean? Obviously, I've said it many a time. One of the greatest games I ever covered was early in my career in 1984.
Okay.
Speaking of Fair Park Stadium, there in Childress, Texas.
Ooh, I love that place.
It's Panhandle versus the Hamlin Pied Pipers.
Oh,
Art
okay.
Briles is the coach of the Hamlin Pied Pipers. Stocky Lamberson is the coach of the Panhandle Panthers. A guy named Chris Ketting was a sophomore on the Panhandle team.
Wow.
Yeah. State quarters, I think it is, regional finals. At that time, Texas had a rule where the first tiebreaker was 20-yard penetrations. However many times you crossed the 20 of the opponent, you were given credit for that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This game was tied at 7-7, and Hamlin kicks off, punts it away to Panhandle to end the fourth quarter about at the 2-yard line, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Panhandle holds the ball the entire 12 minutes of that quarter.
Really? Wow.
Does not score, but crosses the 20-yard line and celebrates like they won the Super Bowl because the penetrations were also tied and they were ahead on penetrations, okay?
Okay.
And so they won that game. They did not score a touchdown. They held the ball the whole 12 minutes.
Wow.
Converted a few fourth downs in there. Shane McCaskey, Westwood, just the two running backs just were amazing. Anyway, and Panhandle went on to play for the state championship and got beat that year. Stocky Lamberson, really, really intense coach, one of the great coaches of the Panhandle. But Art Briles went on, obviously, to coach Baylor and, became controversial figure, but now he's in Eastern Mexico. So I love that game. It's called Panther Drive, wrote a column.
Yeah.
I love that game. But Art Briles, that game changed his philosophy forever on offense. Like I'm moving it out. We are scoring. I'm going to outscore you. I'm not going to outmash you. And he goes, he'll always tell you, I was young and dumb. I should have let him score.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a play that they had finally figured out that would score against Panhandle's defense. Okay, they had figured it out finally.
Mm-hmm.
But never got to run it.
Oh, wow.
And I did a 20-year anniversary. I used to do a lot of stories on that game, but I did a 20-year anniversary at that time on that game. Art Briles is coaching at the University of Houston. And I just remember, oh my gosh, this is my favorite game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I call him on a Wednesday, and the secretary goes, he doesn't do media after Tuesday. You know what I mean? So you're out of luck. I said, please just put on his desk Panhandle versus Hamlin, 1984.
Ooh.
Tyler, within 5 minutes, he was on the phone. I love talking about this game, changed my whole philosophy. And in his books and all that. But yeah, that's one that's a great memory of mine. But there's so many. Like I said, I mean, watching Tascosa girls win state in 1991. I mean, I think they had 12 losses and they caught fire at the right time. And coach, Mike Martin was such a great coach. You know what I mean? And but so many wonderful memories. Paladuro Amarillo High, Saturday afternoons there for a while at Dick Bivens Stadium. Place would be packed. It was a legendary game. Coming from Colorado, I'd never seen anything like that. So, but also I have great basketball memories, great baseball memories, and then of course track here now recently. With Addison Bristow and. Just so many memories. But let me tell you this one story. Got to work with the late, great Putt Pal, for 10 years.
Yep.
Before he passed on. I think he worked at the Globe-News 68 years. The putter his hours were this, and you can relate to this more than anybody listening to us. He would come in about 3 o'clock. He would leave about 7 to go home for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Be with his wife, and then he'd watch the news and the sports, and then he would come back to the paper about 11 o'clock. He did all his writing from like midnight to 4 a.m.
Wow.
And he was a prolific writer in the fact that short putts every day was a must read in the Globe News. Long putts we had an afternoon paper we had to do as well. But the other thing about putt, Tyler, one day I'm typing on an good old IBM Selectric, okay, and doing some work, and a voice says, "Hey, is the putter around?" And you look up, who would it be? You know what I mean? It would be all these famous coaches. You know what I mean?
My goodness.
Yeah. So Bum Phillips happened to be the one I'm talking about on that day.
Wow.
So you're looking up and like, wait, that's Bum Phillips. You know what I mean? Terry Funk used to visit him at midnight, at nights all the time. And so these guys would come in and you're like, oh my gosh, Grant Taft would always make sure he was in Amarillo to visit Putt Powell. But one day the putter's ill, okay, Tyler, and he's having dinner with Barry Switzer at the old Red Barn here in Amarillo.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I've told this story a few times, but it's still one of my favorite. So he calls me up, Lance, I'm sick. How would you like to go out and have dinner with Barry Switzer? I'm like, okay. And it was in the summertime, you know what I mean, where things were a lot low key. So we go out there and I meet him, first time I've ever met him. So our waitress is a big wrestling fan and looks at Barry Switzer and says, aren't you the guy training Dr. Death Steve Williams?
Oh.
And Dr. Death Steve Williams happened to play for Barry at one time, as a great lineman, and he had broken his wrist or something. So the shtick was the old coach had come back to train him back to greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had no clue he was the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. And Barry goes, yeah, that is me. Can I get your address? And I'll have Dr. Death send you and I'll get his autograph and send that. How cool is that? First of all,
that's very small world.
Yes. So Barry, but a lot of people did recognize Barry Switzer. So he was signing autographs all night. And we sat there. We'd had a nice dinner and at that time, a couple of adult beverages. We had a couple of brews. You know what I mean? So it's getting late. He's ready to go, and I go, Coach Switzer, you signed a lot of autographs tonight, but I don't want a mamby-pamby autograph, okay? Mm-hmm. And so he goes, okay. So I had this little piece of paper, this big, Tyler, and it says and he hands it to me, and I put it in my pocket. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Said, thanks. And he goes, aren't you going to read it? So I pull it out, and it says, to Lance, F you, Barry Switzer. Yep. And still have that little piece of paper. Yeah.
Wow, that's so great.
But so stuff like that, you're going to remember things like that. But,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, so many great memories. Just covering a game in Hereford, the cows over there. You have donuts as well as the best burritos you've ever had. You have such a mixture of food.
Hereford's press box was known for legendary food.
Exactly. And we're selfish that way, where we kind of rated the press boxes on food.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But Garrett Von Netzer, just talking about being in my career, you have to give a shout out to Garrett Von Netzer. He took a chance on me, and I was pretty rough. I was an agate clerk. You can relate to this, Tyler, for an entire 12 months. He said, when a job opens up, it's yours. Mm-hmm. But I typed that agate. I did all the agate for the Globe for an entire year, and he gave me high school volleyball, which, I covered Cap Rock's district championship, you know what I mean? That they still haven't won one since, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just a lot of great memories, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's crazy because one of my favorite memories is not a football memory, and I've seen my fair share of great football games,
classics.
Some classics. One of mine is from wrestling. It was and it was funny because it was between Dumas and Randall down at UIL State, and they're vying for a state championship. So Dumas got out in front, And then it started to become like a 4-horse race where it was between Dumas, it was between Randall, and then it was Frisco Liberty and Frisco Centennial. And it really came down to the 152-pound championship match between this undefeated wrestler from Frisco Liberty and Zach Garza from Dumas. And I was with the news press. I was able to get down there. I was able to go cover both days of the state wrestling meet. Nowadays you could just keep track on like Flow Wrestling and be okay. And then you're able to type out, who won and, who came close and who medaled and everything. But to be at and I remember people were cheering for the Frisco kid over Garza. And I know Garza scored points. He scored enough. I think he beat the kid 2-1. And I remember the final moments where Zach ended up being a pretty decent wrestler. He ended up going to Ellsworth and wrestling there when Ellsworth was really, really good. And then I think he ended up wrestling for like a smaller college after that. But I remember he's just hanging on this kid's leg just for dear life. And then the match to me was a blur, but I remember the part where he basically won. And I remember Coach Clint Chamblin, great wrestling coach. I think he's doing really well now. I think he went back to Colorado. And then Chris Holsworth, they were both celebrating. They knew that was basically their Super Bowl. They won it all. And I remember I was snapping photos and I was taking video at the same time. I was juggling like what was all going on. And to see Zach's hand get raised and everything, and to be able to be like, well, there it is, Dumas's latest state champion, Zach Garza. And just to capture that moment was really cool, and to snap that photo of his hand getting raised. And then we ended up doing a really cool page, like a tribute page, with all the kids that went to who went to state. And it was like 10 kids who qualified for Dumas. Wow.
Yeah.
And then the next year it was like 11 kids who qualified. It was intense. But yeah, like I just remember, I remember being there for that first one, and I bet you it was one of those where like Coach Q was like so close. And Coach Q, he's a legend in his own right at Randall, multiple state championships, multiple state champion wrestlers. And then another one I remember the most was at the Iowa State Wrestling Championships. And this was a wrestler out of South Central Calhoun named Blake McAllister. And he was a stud. Absolutely fantastic. The first time he went to the state championship, he lost to this really good kid from Don Bosco. And Don Bosco is this high school wrestling dynasty. They're this little tiny school in this little tiny town called Gilbertville, and they are a Catholic school, so they can choose their pick of the litter. This kid ended up going to wrestle at North Carolina eventually, but each time Blake got a little bit better and a little bit better against him, and it got to Blake's senior year. He was facing this kid for the umpteenth time. He went from being pinned by this kid to losing 2-1. And wow. I was in the back. I was in the bones of the Casey Center. At the time, it was Wells Fargo Arena. And I remember, and Blake was just a tough kid. He was very humble. He never went on to wrestle. He was so athletic. He could have went anywhere. He could have went anywhere for football or wrestling. He could have went anywhere. However, he declined that. He wanted to be like his dad and be a lineman for the local electric company. And that's what he's doing now. And I remember he was so athletic and so tough. He was lean. He was tall. He was lean. He was athletic, and he had an edge to him. He had a little bit of a meanness to him, but if you knew how he operated, he was a great kid. And I knew him since he was a freshman. That's when I came in, was towards the tail end of his freshman year. And probably the only time he ever cried was it was after, it was in the bones of the Casey Center. We get to have words with both Blake and we have words with Coach Lance Schultz. Top 5 all-time winningest wrestling coaches in the state of Iowa. That's quite. I mean, but also Coach Schultz wrestled for 30 years. Not wrestled for 30 years. He coached for 30 years, nearly 40 years. He went. He was. Yeah, he was great. And he was great to work with too. One of my favorite coaches to work with. Because he knew that I liked promoting the sport of wrestling. So he knew I was on board. I remember they did their interviews, and then after the interviews were over, I was standing there with Jeff Blankman with Carroll Broadcasting. And I had my camera ready as well. And at that point, I know some athletes and coaches, they get really kind of weird when you have a camera near them or anything. But Blake and Coach Schultz were so used to photographers like myself and Jeff Storyhunt around that they just kind of let the moment happen where Coach Schultz hugs Blake cries, and Blake is allowed to shed tears. And this is a tough kid. This kid, I've seen him lose games at the Unidome and everything, and his senior year, he just walks off like nothing happened, and that was just when the emotion caught up to him. And I remember both Jeff and I caught pictures of them embracing, and I thought that was it. For them to allow us to, be able to see them have an emotional moment, that really sticks out to me as well. Always wrestling, Lance. Always wrestling. I've seen great basketball. I've seen great football. But no,
it's it's an emotional sport, though.
It is.
I wrestled. I wasn't real good, but I wrestled in high school, and I mentioned that. That 6 minutes doesn't look like much if you're on the sideline. It is a beast to be, because you're in the best of your shape, and yet you're still fatigued somehow. Because you're fighting. You're battling another guy. So, it's a wonderful sport. Wrestling is a wonderful, wonderful. A teacher of a lot of different things. So,
it is.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And I was a basketball kid growing up. So wrestling was wrestling was an acclimated taste.
Totally.
Taste.
Yeah. You nail it. Someday I need to sit down and write maybe 20 things that I really, really remember. But, Larry Dipple had that team that made the state semifinals at Amarillo High, things like that. I really covered that team, did so many features on them. And to this day, I still have friends from that team, things like that. It's just, I love Steve Parr after games, before games.
Oh, he was great.
Paladuro coach was amazing, and Plainview, amazing quotes, Doug James before that at PD. Wow. You know what I mean? So many wonderful, wonderful memories that, hey, it was a good run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great runs. It's so fun because it's not so much the moments, it's more the people.
It is the people.
It's the people that you remember the most.
And the athletes, yeah. That's what touches your heart, And you write some stories that are obviously a lot more emotional than others with the features, and you remember those, you know what I mean? So just so many good memories.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We are both fans of the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
I will mention this. But yeah, I'll tell you how I fell into liking the Broncos, Lance, because you're a Colorado guy, so it's by birthright that you have to like the Broncos.
Yeah,
I think that applies to Wyoming, and I think that applies to
I would say Western Nebraska.
Western
you can
Nebraska.
throw in there, you know what I mean? And then not so much. Well, maybe even Western Kansas a little bit, because you're really closer to Denver than KC, but New Mexico for sure.
New Mexico, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And so I fell into the Broncos because I started off as a Miami Dolphins fan. And this is when I was a young pup. And I loved Dan Marino. It was just when the Dolphins kind of rested on their laurels and they were just like, well, we'll just, and that was towards the end of Don Shula's career. Don Shula, holy buckets. Yeah. What he was an amazing coach. But it was where they got pass happy all the time, where Don Shula's early teams were always run first. They were always hard nosed and great defense, where when Dan Marino came around, they were pass all the time. And this is a crazy Mandela effect moment, Lance. I remember when I was a young kid, and it was about 1999. I was sitting there. I think I was watching, it might've been around 1997 or so. I remember sitting and watching SportsCenter, and there were trade rumors that ESPN was reporting on SportsCenter, like the old school 90s SportsCenter.
Yeah.
And those were the glory years of SportsCenter. They were talking about Barry Sanders wanting to go join the Miami Dolphins. And crazy thing is, nobody remembers it save for me, because I remember the Lions shut down that trade, and Barry was like, I'm not going to be able to win with the Lions, so I'm just going to retire. And I was like, that's a great what if, like if Barry Sanders was in the same backfield as Dan Marino, like holy buckets, like that would be crazy. But no, my grandma Bernie, who was technically my great aunt, she loved John Elway. And when I was really young, Mom and I went out to Denver, and we visited the old Mile High Stadium. We didn't go for a game. We were going there like during my Christmas vacation. So like there was like a banner that says like the Denver Broncos wish you a Merry Christmas, because and that's where and I just remember it was a beautiful day in Denver. There was hardly any snow on the ground. It was a beautiful, like 70 degree day in Denver in tail end of December.
Which is great.
Yeah. And I remember we stopped at we were able to peer into Mile High Stadium. And from then on out, along with my grandma Bernie loving John Elway, I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to be a Broncos fan. And I've been a Broncos fan ever since. So
growing up in Colorado, I mean, there was at that time, an older guy, obviously, there was no professional baseball. We had the ABA, Rockets. So really the Broncos were it. You know what I mean? And they were bad. I mean, they were really bad for a while there, but they sold out every game. Mile High was a steal. It's called Mile High Thunder, and they tried to duplicate it with the new stadium they built, where it's kind of a forgiving kind of steel, but it's nothing like that. But they would start stomping their feet, and that place would just, Floyd Little, and then when Elway came, because everybody was afraid to go to the Super Bowl there for a while with the Broncos because of all those disasters, including, when the Cowboys and the Broncos, 77, the Orange Crush, the original Orange Crush.
The OG Orange Crush, yeah.
Yeah, and even that score is only 27-10. It was Dallas. It might have well been 63-10 the way Dallas beat up Denver that day.
Yeah.
But always been a Bronco fan, and it just first game I ever went to, I was a sophomore in high school. Dallas, Denver, as a matter of fact, Staubach to Drew Pearson. I'm pretty sure that's what the story was of that game. So a lot of great memories. But I'm still a Broncos fan, always will be.
Yep, same here. I think because it was part of the 90s cool was when they switched over the Nike and they had the Batwing jerseys and everything.
Yeah.
And
but now going back, Tyler, I mean, I like the old school look. I think they need to actually go back to that.
Sure.
That old orange, you know what I mean, with the horse huffing on the sideline.
Yeah. I wish they made that more of an alternate logo, but I think they do. They call it kind of a vintage, but it is what it is. But I remember when they first changed their uniforms. And I remember, and I was camping in the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming at the time. And Dad and I went into this little town called Hyattsville. And there were the Broncos were playing a preseason game. And I remember me being young kid being like, oh, this is so cool. Like, it's them in their new uniforms. I remember Rich Eisen used to call them, they look like the Barcelona Dragons, with their, yeah, I remember that. And then I remember walking into the establishment to go get something to eat with Dad. And I remember just talking with these guys at the bar. And this was cool. It was like it was like an old school, Old West saloon. Yeah. All wood, a whole bunch of antlers all over the place, whole bunch of, moose heads and all sorts of animals taxidermied. And I remember watching that on TV with these guys, and I was like, man, those new uniforms, they're pretty cool, huh? And they're like, no, we want the old, we want the, it was done for the kids. It was marketed to the kids. And I'm like, you're right. I was a kid and it marketed to me. It was really cool. But I think what made people really latch on was, the year that they kind of went in that Nike direction. They ended up winning the Super Bowl, and people accepted it. And then nowadays, I like the little uniform refresh that they have now. But I felt for Bo Nix when he got his ankle busted, and I was like, yeah, that was tragedy, man. They had a chance. They just weren't, and obviously they weren't the same team even close. But it's a good run. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan. I don't know why, but I'm just not. And but he's a really good football coach. Yeah, you know what I mean? He knows his football.
He knows how to build a team, and so I've been very impressed with the way he has built the Broncos. So
we'll see what happens. It's impressive. Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, I want to see what happens. And I've always been a Sean Payton fan. I'm kind of on the other side of the aisle, but hey, that's okay. I loved him when he was in New Orleans. And then New Orleans they had the whole Bounty Gate. He was gone for a year, and then the Saints fell apart. And then he came back, and the Saints were good again. And then I was like, okay, all right, he's had a good run. And then Denver calls him back because, well, he was the best name on the market at the time.
For sure.
And here's the thing with the Broncos. The Broncos could have bad seasons sometimes. And I know, I mean, both Lance and I went through the Josh Daniels years.
Wow.
Yeah, they were pretty brutal. They started off really hot at first, and then they just fell apart. But and then but we've enjoyed continued success from Denver because just the organizational bones, the culture. To quote the ill-fated Washington football team's general manager, the culture was damn good. And I mean that with Denver. But yeah,
well, they have an amazing loyal fan base.
They do.
You know what I mean? I know that's not everything, but think about it. I think it's 1968 or something. They've had sellouts every game from 1968. That just does not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like in a lot of NFL cities, it's grandfathers handing their tickets down to their grandkids. You know what I mean? Their season tickets. But Denver's definitely that culture. You know what I mean? So I will say this. I'm gonna make an editorial statement here real quick.
Sure.
Tyler, I love going to football games.
Me too.
But NFL games scare me now. There are so many drunk fans. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is the Unfiltered Podcast. So
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if I would not walk into Denver with a Raiders jersey on,
or a Chiefs jersey nowadays,
Chiefs jersey now. I mean, it ends up in a fight. I mean, I don't quite get why that is necessary. You know what I mean? And people get so, and it's in Dallas as well. They get so hammered.
Mm-hmm.
I think the NFL probably needs to go to two sections of a stadium where
soccer supporters,
non-drinking areas.
Okay,
I'm just going to tell you,
that's a great one.
Let you take a young kid there where you don't have to worry about, is he going to get attacked? Is he going to hear vulgar language. I mean, I'm not naive. You're going to hear it once in a while, but over and over, some hammered guy behind you spills a beer on your back. You know what I mean?
Those are the worst feelings.
It's bad. It's really bad in a lot of NFL facilities, and that's sad for me.
Yeah, I agree. It can be that way with college athletics too.
Yeah,
I mean, we know about Texas Tech and throwing the tortillas on the field, and Lance, you've seen that firsthand multiple times.
Yeah, multiple. Yeah.
One of my instances was I was covering the Cyhawk game. Iowa was over in Jack Trice Stadium playing Iowa State. Iowa State was halfway decent that year. They had Brock Purdy, they had Breece Hall, they had all these really good guys. Iowa barely beat them, and I remember the stream of people coming out, and I was trying to go up to work on my photos. I didn't have a story to write. I wanted to go edit my photos, and plus it took all day. I remember getting to the stadium about 10:30, and it was a zoo then. And they had a lightning delay that was like 2 hours. So I remember walking in that stadium about 10:30 and not walking out until about 11, just for how long that game was. And I remember walking up, because you have to walk up the ramp to get to the elevators to get to the press box. And I am like the lone person waiting against the tide of Iowa State fans. And they all had something to say to me. They were all like smart alecky and all angry, and I'm like, dude, I'm not a Hawkeyes fan. I was just a member of the press. Like, I'm just like, excuse me, pardon me, I just need to get to the elevator. And then they just all had something mean to say, and I'm like, why are you taking it out on the media guy? Like, what's going on here?
I love passion for fans.
Too.
I really do. I respect that 100%, but it's overboard, you know what I mean, in areas where, the alcohol takes over or whatever. And I just don't like violence inside the stadium, or, I mean, if you're wearing your team's jersey, my gosh, is that any reason to get beat up?
Yeah.
Or your son to be yelled at? Like you said, and you, just as a media person, you should be able to go walk back into the press box and do your job. And you're like looking around like, who's after you?
Yeah, no kidding. like just so many angry faces. I just remember that was such a blur. WT, like I love talking about WT. Not just because it's the alma mater, but I've had good memories of being at WT as well, because I've seen some good football, and I've seen some not so great football, but passable football. Never a season where like WT, like basically the bottom fell out. But to see like them getting surpassed by like Texas A&M Commerce and Tarleton, and I was like, dude, WT used to beat on these schools. Like, it always made me think, like, in the grand scale of like conference realignment. And I know we got to be really careful, because we have a lot of friends that are WT people. But I kind of feel like WT kind of missed the boat. Like, and they have gorgeous facilities, immaculate facilities. Yeah. Like, WT could be ready to go to FCS tomorrow. However, like, I remember talking to a good friend within the athletic department, and granted, Lance, this was probably about 8 years ago or so. I remember, hey, what would it take to go up to D1 along with the conference invite? I mean, the United Athletic Conference and the Southland would be perfect for WT. But I remember him telling me it would cost $10 million more. It would cost $10 million more dollars
per year
for WT to remain in D1.
Yeah. I'm with, I obviously,
and that's before NIL and transfer portals and everything.
Yeah. They were in the Missouri Valley Conference when I first arrived at WT, you know what I mean? So in Amarillo, and obviously that was Division I. So, and then I was with them when they went Division II. By the way, speaking of memories, 1986 Buffs with Bill Kelly
Ooh.
starting 0-4 and then winning the Lone Star, is that's another one. Todd Mayfield was the quarterback. Chili Dog, James Morton was one of the running backs back in that era. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great memories from those. My thought is this: Division II is WT's niche. Okay, because I went to Northern Colorado. That's my alma mater. They won the Division II National Football Championship and then jumped up to this FCS. Okay, and now they're just a boat without a rudder. They're just wandering. You know what I mean? No one knows about them.
Right.
That's their decision. I'm okay with that. Okay with that. They made the big basketball tourney. They made March Madness once, so it's kind of their thing. But with NIL now and the portal, Division II is the biggest struggle of all the colleges, in my opinion, because if, let's say, Tom Brown gets a great basketball player there or develops him for a couple of years, where are they going to look? Somebody's going to pay him, even if it's $75,000, which is still quite a bit of money. You know what I mean? But in the scheme of things, we're hearing $5 million for Sorsby as a quarterback at Tech. Things like that. But what it is, Tyler, is, and I don't blame these athletes for trying it. You know what I mean? But that Division I schools are now purging what used to be like, okay, this guy's going to be a D2 All-American his junior and senior year, but now he's going to go be the 8th or 9th man on a Division I program. You know what I mean? Like Houston State or whatever. So there's really a quandary there. I don't know where WT belongs, and I'm going to be honest with that. I think you're right. Probably maybe a Southland would be worth a try now. Is that going to be any different, though? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Division II has the worst of all. They have been affected, even though they're not the ones, because they don't have the NIL money.
No.
Okay, there's just a couple of schools giving that out. Mm-hmm. That's why those players go there. It is very, very difficult situation. So, and especially Division II football, we have seen it take a real step back, just in my opinion, of the overall talent of a team.
Yeah.
Okay. There's still great players in there, don't get me wrong, but the overall talent of a D2 team, we just don't see that we saw even 8 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like
it'd be 10 million, but yeah, I don't know. You got to find your lane, is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what WT's lane is. I'm going to be honest right now, but right now they've got to figure something out.
Yeah.
Football wise, especially.
Right. Yeah, because they have gorgeous facilities. They have great coaches.
Amen. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not talking and I'm kind of neutral on Doug. I don't dislike him. I don't like him. I'm just kind of not apathetic, just indifferent. But I mean, I love Coach Lynn for football. I love Coach Brown. Coach Brown, because I had to go cover WT after you did. Yeah. And Coach Brown made me really make he was the one coach, and I will tell him right to him. He was the one coach that always made me kind of like work my gears. Like I just couldn't go in cruise control with him. I had to really think about my questions.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And he was awesome at that. Like he would make you like really think your questions through and make you sound like I was like, man, I got to ask this man some intelligent questions. So I always went to be like, hey, talk about oh gosh, when I was covering, it was Gotch. That was really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, tell me about his performance. And after a while, it became kind of the same thing. So I just go seek, just make sure he was okay with me talking to a player after a game, just to kind of switch it up a little bit. But he was good. He challenged my mind, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, Coach Brown, and then I always love that, because if you ask a really stupid question, which we do it on occasion,
we do.
If you're just going to go, "What'd you think of the game?" He's going to go like, "What do you mean? What I think of the game? We just got beat by 12, or One might. What'd you think of the game? Ask me something.
Yeah.
I respect that man so much. When I covered him, I really enjoyed it, and he has his own philosophy on basketball, how the game is played.
Yeah,
really sticks with it, and his players. Coach Prock is the same way.
Coach Prock's awesome. Yeah, I love Coach Prock.
Yeah. They have some great coaches down there. Mook's
great.
Yeah, I really like what they have there at WT coaching wise.
Yeah, so. I do too.
I think there's just question mark after question mark. Where is this Division II world going to go?
Yep.
I know they're trying. I don't think anybody really knows how to impact the Division II world without the NIL money that other schools have. So
right. Yeah. And then one more big shout out to the people within the athletic department too. Kent Johnson, Brent Seals, Big Daddy B. Shout out Big Daddy B. There are so many people within that athletic department that I admire and that have been there forever. Big shout outs to Kent Johnson, because like if I had a question for the athletic department, Kent was the one that was giving me the call. And I grew to really like Michael McBroom. I was a big Michael McBroom guy. Still am to this day, while he's at Stephen F. Austin. But yeah, Kent Johnson, man, he was the guy that made everything go.
Yeah. No, Kent's a great guy. Retired now, you know what I mean? But, Michael McBroom, I liked him. He had his controversies, but he didn't back off from them.
No.
He had his vision. And even some of the coaches he had the controversies with, I love those coaches as well.
Yeah.
I really didn't pick sides on those. I just knew what each stand was being made, and they both believed in it. And I'm okay with it. I really am. I'm really okay with that. So, yeah.
One of my favorite things as of late, too, is that WT has kind of made peace with Don Carthel.
That.
I like that. That's such a great move.
Long overdue, and it happened. It was not good.
No.
And I think Don would say he did some things that he could have done different to smooth it over. Michael would probably say the same thing. They both took their stand, and that's what happened. You know what I mean? But no, he belongs in the lore, in the good standing of praises of WT.
Absolutely.
Hey, will we ever see that place packed again? I'm going to tell you, speaking of great stuff we've been talking about throughout this show, I'd never thought, after I'd been here about 10, 15 years, Tyler, that I'd ever see Kimbrough Memorial Stadium packed.
Oh, and I was there for one of those games too.
Yeah. And who got that packed? Don Carthel on the bus.
Donnie C. Yeah.
So,
Oh, my gosh.
Great memories.
Great memories. And one of my favorite memories involves Coach Carthel as well. I remember there was a press conference when he was like going over his latest signing class. And it was, I tried to just be really funny. And I was like, is it a great, like, it's a great day to be a Buffalo, right, Coach? He's like, it's a great day to be a Buffalo. You betcha. And I loved it. Like, that was where like the inner Buff in me kind of came out. And I was like, let's just end it on a good note. And then like, I remember like the room kind of like having a nice laugh afterwards. And
that's cool. Yeah.
It was fun. I always wanted to bring that up to him, but our ships never really passed. Every now and then, like he was always in and then he was out.
Right.
I think what we can do is I can give you one more really good question, and we'll kind of grow it from there. For being in newspapers for pretty close to 4 decades, you give or take.
You're. I was there 4 decades. 38 at the Globe-News. And then obviously, college and internships and stuff like that. It's pretty close to 40.
Pretty close.
And
then evolving to going into radio and television. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that is in college or is a young lion that is kind of wanting to, make their way?
You know it better than the most because you've done it. be diversified, okay, and accept it. Become the best photographer you can. Learn video, and I'm not just saying just sticking it up there and getting a quote. Learn video. You know what I mean? Learn to shoot some B-roll. Learn to some angles and things like that. But I will say this, and you're going to think this is old school, but it's not. Okay, and I will die on this one. I'll die on this hill. Okay.
Sure.
The ability to write serves you immensely well in the television world and the radio world. And I will say that if you can write a story, you're so far ahead of everybody else because everybody refuses to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Learn to write a story. The skill of writing will help you, whether you're putting together a broadcast at Channel 4, Channel 7, or Channel 10. That skill will help you if you're going to, put your stuff online as well. It's just going to help you if you become a solid writer. And when you learn to write a story, you're getting both sides of a story. You're learning to interview people and ask the tough question as well as the fun question. And I think if people would desire to write a little bit more and perfect that craft, that would be my suggestion, where that's going to put you ahead of even the most talented broadcasters. You have an edge if you can write.
Yeah. You got to be so multidimensional these days.
Very true. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. As it should. Yeah. Like, cause I remember like these days, especially when things are more, you're more stretched out more than ever. And then we talked about that earlier in the show is, you're not on a staff of 12 people anymore. You're lucky to be on a staff of like maybe 2 or 3 people. You're one of 2 or one of 3. And you're lucky to have maybe a photographer on staff,
exactly.
or somebody that can cross over from news. You got to be able to know how to do everything. Like you got to be able to know how to write. You got to be able to know how to take a halfway decent video. You got to remember, like, you got to know how to, like, at least be presentable and talk to a, when like the situation calls for it. It's like, cause my problem is like, I'll stammer, I'll hesitate. I've gotten better as time passes, but, I remember there are still some people out there that are straight up newspaper people. Like they are old school, not to discredit them by any means, like, cause like they've seen it all. They've been through it all. They still tell great stories even after all these years. But yeah, like it's one of those things where like, yeah, nowadays you have to be so good about short form video and got to know how to do it, like put together a TikTok, and you got to remember how to like edit something on your phone, which Kale is a master at, by the way. Like he could do everything through his phone, and like, and I talked to Lee about it, Lee Baker about it not too long ago, and he's like, I don't know how Kale does it. He could just do that on his little screen and just put it all together. And oh my goodness,
fast.
He's
fast.
Good, fast and good.
Yeah, he has that knack. Well, I mean, that's from his skills, from the TV, but. And I'm not going to apologize for being an old school newspaper person, but you do have to evolve. Mm-hmm. And but I would, and my other thing would be this: once you find your lane, once you find your passion, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Okay, even though you're not the best at it now, but if this is your passion, find that passion, and then go for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I really believe that 100%. I don't care what area it is, but you nailed it. You got to be versatile. But it's still a wonderful world out there.
It is.
We need journalists. We need storytellers, and we need watchdogs of our community.
True
and,
that.
It's just it's different now, obviously, but there's a place for us always.
Yep. Here on that one. I think one final question, because we're close to our 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you got places to be and people to see. how about the Fieldhouse Podcast? That is a show I really enjoy.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. This is your chance to kind of plug it, and we need to give Jimmy Lackey his flowers, man, because that man, he is like, and I've worked with Jimmy in the past, and you've worked with Jimmy extensively. It's to the point where I begged the man for a job at Conversing, but no, Jimmy is like, he's such a hardworking guy, and he's so down to earth at the same time. Like, I remember just saying hello to him at a WT game, and he spent like 5 minutes visiting with me and catching up and just wondering how I was doing. So yeah, we need to give the Fieldhouse Podcast its flowers.
Fieldhouse Podcast, we try to do it weekly. We have our moments where he's a busy man.
He is busy.
That Rock Rose, Jimmy's gonna have a legacy, and it's gonna be Rock Rose Park and a well-earned flowers in the sky. I'm just telling you, so many kids are gonna benefit from this facility that he has. A lot of help, don't get me wrong, but he has decided to raise that money on his own. That's $30 million.
Yeah,
that's not chump. That's a lot of money. That's not chump change. Jimmy Lackey is honestly, Tyler, concerned about how anybody's doing. I love that about that man. He wants what's best, and I don't care if you're 80 or 8. Okay, he really wants what's best for you. He respects elderlies. He wants the youth to have a great experience at Kids Inc. And if you can't afford it, we're going to make scholarships. You know what I mean? If we don't have coaches, we're going to figure out how to get you on a team. He is so good about that. And what the Fieldhouse Podcast is, we do talk Kids Inc., but we get some insight from Jimmy, who's a Dumas guy who was, at West Texas, worked for West Texas, did a great job there. Well-versed man, but just a good dude. You know what I mean? Just a good dude. And that's kind of what we just chatted up. You know what I mean? And he plays along with me in my stupid questions like, what's the best thing that happened to you today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite questions I've come up with recently. I don't know why I love that, but I do, because it does open a unique conversation. What's the best thing that happened to you today? You might try that. You're listening, you have a teenager out there, instead of saying, hey, how was school today? The same. What's the best thing that happened to you today? But we have a blast, and we cover a lot of different areas. And I thanks for bringing that up, though. We've had a blast doing that. And like your podcast as well here, we're at 75. I don't know how it got there. You know what I mean? And we've had a lot of fun with it. So
yeah.
But thanks for bringing that up. And
you betcha.
You can find that. We do that weekly. It's a lot of fun.
The studio is really nice too. And then like the producer, she's got a good head on her shoulders. She's
awesome. Yeah, she's awesome. I mean, we're lucky.
Yeah,
very lucky.
Extremely lucky. And then just a few final things before we go. What are some other things that you want to shout out? I know I kind of brought up the sports drive. I brought up you helping out with Press Pass Sports, News Channel 10, Fieldhouse Podcast. What are some other things that we need to plug away?
You know what I mean? I appreciate the offer, but Tyler, I think that's enough. You know what I mean? I really don't self-promote. Just kind of love what I do. Glad another avenue opened up after my writing days. I thought, Tyler, I was done with writing. Like, man, you know how it is. Like, I covered 1,000 football games, high school football games, you know what I mean? And triple that with basketball, as you well know.
Yeah.
That is a lot of bylines. And when I was done, I was like, I'm done. But it's in your DNA. And so I've been challenged to write a book, and that may be my next chapter in my life.
That'd be cool. I would totally buy it.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'd totally buy it.
And as you well know, I admire what you do. Nobody is more honest in this world than Tyler Anderson. He is what he is right there. He is what he is. And that's what I've always loved about Tyler. You get what you get. And I respect that so much, because we all know those guys who are a little like they have a side of them that's way different than what they're putting forth. That's not Tyler.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of people like that.
You know, I think maybe a book. But you know that's going to be a grind, buddy.
Yeah, it'd be a grind. But the life and times of one Lance Lahnert, that'd be a good book.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the time today, man. I've really enjoyed kind of reflecting and then getting your insight as well as my insight on topics that we both experienced in different ways.
Yeah, it's crazy, like how kind of our roads are a little different, but they're parallel at the same time.
So true, man.
But I do feel like at the same time, like, you know how you've had mentors that help build you. Well, it became where it's like you and Kale and Tony and a few other people along the way, they've mentored me to be, where I'm at today, where I'm like, hey, I don't have as many bylines as I used to, but when people like see the Tyler Anderson byline, they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
This is good. Like when I covered Dumas softball and I had Coach T tell Kale, basically give me my flowers, and I don't need to hear it as long as you tell people that, hey, I did an okay job. That's all that matters to me at the end of the day. So
yeah, and that's what you want. You know what I mean? I have and we always remember the stuff we messed up. I had a whole. I will say, like, if the letters that I got at the Globe-News that praised something that I might have written was pretty large.
Yeah.
But I saved all the hate mail to inspire me. So it took up a whole drawer, okay, over 38 years. So just a reminder, what it's about, but why we did it. And Tyler and I are in the same line in this way. And it is to tell stories, to do it the best we can, but to be fair to that person. There's a couple of moments I probably wasn't as fair as I should have been, and I regret those.
Yeah,
but
me too.
99.9% of the time, Tyler Anderson and Lance Lahnert, that is our goal, to present the best we can what we saw happen and to make it fair. You know what I mean? We're not going to take a cheap shot at you, especially high school. My philosophy is high school kids are off limits, college kids sort of pro, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, pro is fair game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like high school kids definitely off limits. You want to pick them up, especially because they're young people in their formative years.
Totally. Yeah, and they're trying to do their best.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. So yeah,
agreed. And then I feel like the small college athletes can be lumped in there as well. Unless there's some high expectations, like if it's like a Grand Valley State or something like that, maybe some higher expectations. But I kind of like expand the off limits to like the small college kids. But like the big time college, like the Texas Techs and the Iowas and the Iowa States, like sometimes you got to call. You need to take them to the woodshed when they need to be taken to the woodshed.
I agree.
And
I agree.
I think, the tech beat writer there, he's been there forever.
Don Williams.
Don Williams, yeah, he's done his due diligence in keeping tech honest. Shout out Don Williams, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Shout out Don Williams. We do it as long as he's done it. Very skilled writer.
Very skilled.
And but he's not afraid to tell it like it is, which isn't easy to do because you want to be, hey, there's Don. Good to see you. And when you write something where you're bashing or really telling the truth, they don't welcome you into that locker room. You know what I mean, or into that coach's office like they would, like you could have if you avoided that. So
yeah, right.
I always respected that about Don.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, like if you want to, and then the pros are open season. I'll say that. Yeah, like. That's how Skip Bayless and gosh dang, the really highly paid guy by ESPN,
Stephen A. Smith.
Like that's how they get their chops, but they're not well liked because they have a bone to pick with just about everybody. So
yeah.
But yeah,
not my style to just go off like that.
Right. Not mine either. It's not my thing to be like, okay, all right. Like it's okay to give an honest critique or an honest opinion, but don't make it to where it's like really bashing the other person. I mean, in all honesty, like, yeah, you can like them and then still be critical. Be like, hey, it comes from a place of love, but hey, I'm pointing out this like flaw that maybe should be looked at least a little bit.
I would like to end on this. Here's the deal. A lot of people just almost, they'll look at my career and they go, man, that dude stayed in Amarillo all that time. Why? You know what I mean? Didn't you have a chance? Why didn't you challenge yourself? Not good enough to make the big time, things like that. No regrets, you know what I mean? Maybe I should have been a little more of a risk taker when I was young, but I'm proud of what I was able to do here in Amarillo. And that's with a lot of people's help, Tyler. A lot of people correcting my copy, making it cleaner, especially early in my career, you know what I mean? So things like that. But yeah, I'm proud. You know what I mean? I have no regrets. I don't look back and say, oh man, Dallas Morning News, I had a chance, you know. I had some interviews, you know what I mean? And some I didn't get, some couple offers maybe I should have tried it. But I really am proud of what I was able to do here in Amarillo.
Same here. No regrets. I bounced around a little bit more. I wish I could have been like a Lance or a Kale, where I could have been in one place forever. And at one point I thought I was going to be at one place forever. That was going to be Lake City. But unfortunately things weren't meant to be, and that's fine. You know, but the nice thing is I was able to come back. And one of the things on my bucket list, Lance, was to come back and help Kale with Press Pass Sports.
Nice.
Even if it's not very much, like though like my byline is maybe once or twice or 3 times a month if I'm lucky. But but the cool thing is Kale helped me out so much on like the back end, being like, okay, here's what you can do, because we don't have enough of a budget, but here's some other things that can help you pay the bills. And that's what I'm thankful for. And that, like, here, like, I had the support system. I would have a support system anywhere else. But, you know, Amarillo has become one of, like, just basically a home. I mean, I know Iowa, it's still near and dear to my heart. But, you know, it's more like not where you're from. It's more like, you know, kind of how things are forged. Where Amarillo has become basically home. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, and like to still know a whole bunch of coaches. Like when I did the DQ tour, I still call it DQ tour. So yeah, thank you, Lance, for coining that and having that stick with all of us. When we go visit with coaches, and there would be still like Josh Hernandez, for instance, because he was an assistant coach in Dumas when I was in Dumas, and then now he's went on to be, you know, head football coach in Perryton. And he recognized me right off the bat when I saw him when Perryton played Canyon, and he was like, you know, whenever you're in Perryton, let me know. You know, I'll show you around. Cool. And and then same thing with Chad Dunham, same thing with Aaron Dunham. Like they give me like the biggest hugs and the biggest smiles, and I'm like. That's awesome, because they like Chad's the chill one and he's intense. Aaron is the more intense one. He's not intense.
He's way intense.
Yeah, they're way intense. But also like, you know, Coach Plunk as well. Love Coach Plunk. He's such a character. And I mean that like in the best of ways. But
best ways,
yeah, the best of ways. And then to get to know Coach Mims. To get to know Rowdy Freeman, so many other coaches, Coach Nairn when he was in Hereford before he decided to move further into state. He was a class act. There was and then Bo Nicholson over in Milshu as well, and he was really great. And then Coach Cavalier and Canadian. I got to know him before, before he really became head coach, like when Coach Ketting was still there. And I love Coach Ketting as well. He was such a down-to-earth guy. But like Coach Cavalier, man, his motivational speeches in the morning, that would make
yeah.
me want to run through a brick wall for him. Like, I wanted to rock like some Canadian Wildcats, like football pads and jersey, and just run through a wall for him. He has that effect. But
you just touched the surface of so many great coaches that we've got to know. But Chris Ketting and mine careers have kind of gone side by side. Like I said, that '84 game, he was in it.
Yeah,
my favorite one. I've had a chance to cover him. He's one of my favorite of all time. Always so respectful for me. You know, Coach Cavs played under his dad at Pampa, coached at Pampa for a while. So just so much history with these guys. And like you said, you know, it's kind of corny, but when one of those guys see you and their eyes light up, like, man, hey, how goes it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, good to see you. You know what I mean? And it's cool. It's just way cool.
It's very cool. Okay, well, that's a great way to end it. I feel like that's a great note to end it on. So, Lance, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Unfiltered Podcast, Season 2, Episode 11. I'm still baffled by how many Unfiltered podcasts I've put together. And what's
Keep it
great,
going, man.
and I appreciate it. And then I don't have anybody slated just yet. I'm gonna let this episode kind of simmer a little bit, but I will have I'll have plenty of other guests coming down the pipe. I might bring back some old favorites. Who knows?
Nice.
But yeah, but guys, have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Have a great start to your week. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.